Good enough. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Determine the axis of symmetry. That's a vertical line through the vertex. So since it goes through the vertex, so vertical line, is it this way or this way?
Up and down.
Up and down. Because remember, this is like the horizon. The horizon goes like this. So it's the other one, the up and down. So since it cuts straight through the vertex, then it's going to go straight through the function. So the x. So if I draw my little function over here on the side, here's my vertex. Say it goes through here. It's going to go straight through here. So here, what stays the same as I go along this line? My x or my y? So I go along the red line. What stays the same, the x or the y? The x stays the same. So this is going to be x equals whatever the x is at the vertex. What's my x at the vertex? Negative b over 2a. Whatever my h is. Does that make sense? So actually I'll write it like this. X equals whatever h is. So everybody on board with that part? Our vertex is h comma k, so it's right, x equals negative b over 2a, or in other words, x equals h, whatever you got for your vertex, your x value for your vertex. Find the y-intercept by putting in, remember the y-intercept says what is y when x is 0, so put in 0 in for x, and here's the beautiful thing. Let's take a look at this. I've got, my function was y equals, what was it, 3x squared minus 12x plus 5?
2.
Plus 2? When I put in 0 in for x, this goes away, because anything times 0 squared is just 0. This goes away, because anything times 0 goes away as well. I'm just left with that. So this is really just going to be 0, comma, c.
C, what's C?
Y equals ax squared plus bx
C.
plus c.
Oh, okay, C. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So, is that understand what I'm saying? This function is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Who feels comfortable with y equals mx plus b? You're going to become, at the end of this unit, as familiar with y equals ax squared plus bx plus c as you are with that, hopefully. It's the same thing. We're going to have y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the last part, the c. And then create a table using 3 to 5 points. So you already have two. You already have your y-intercept, and you already have your vertex, right? H comma k. So just pick a couple more. And here's the trick. See how everything's sort of symmetrical around this line here? So everyone see it? You want to pick numbers that are close to it, because as you get further and further away, they go up like crazy. Is that, how the vertex, how the parabola goes? Starts off not going up too much, and all of a sudden it shoots right up. So you want to pick numbers that are really close. So start with whatever your h is, and go 1 this way, 2 that way, and then 1 this way, and then 2 this way. So that's what I would recommend, is that you start from where start with x being equal to whatever your h is, and then pick a couple this way, a couple that way. And I'll show you as we go through it. And then plot them, draw your parabola. That's kind of everything.
Want to do that on a sheet somewhere?
No.
Oh.
We'll do some examples. There's a couple things. So this is just kind of your Bible, right, to kind of give you some information about it. So useful information about it. Oh yeah. So maybe. So my point was. So in this case we had 0, 2, right? Does that make sense? Okay. So what was my h comma k was, my vertex was 2 comma negative 10, is that right? So my vertex is actually going to be more like down here, we'll say 2, negative 10. It'll look something like this, right? Let's see. So if our picking points, since my vertex is, right, my vertex is 2 comma 10, I would use things like, well, what are the numbers next to 2? It goes 2, 3, 4. Does everyone agree with me? Right? And then what are the numbers before 2? 1 and 0. So those are the ones I would use. Does that make sense for people? Here's my vertex. Pick numbers right around that. Right around x's. Pick x's that are right around here. So 2. The next one is 3 and 4. If I go backwards from 2, I get 0 and 1. Right? So those are the ones you want to pick, ideally, because before it starts really spreading out. And then figure out, since my A is positive 3, it should open upwards. Good. All right, so then there's some other useful information you can take a look at. Yes, there's these things called the vertex form. So the vertex form, you use the A from the ax plus bx plus c, ax squared plus bx plus c, and you use the vertex, your h and your k, and you can find the vertex form of the equation as well. So this is the vertex form. Y equals a times parentheses x minus h squared plus k. So as you look at it, from the basic one, what's the shift? The h is that on the inside or the outside? Inside. Does everyone see that? The h is on the inside. So it's shifted, since we do minus h, that's h is the shift left or right. Because remember, it's the opposite on the inside, the minus. And then the k, is that my left, right, or my up, down?
Up, down.
That's my up, down shift. So that's kind of the things you can put the vertex goes right in there because it tells you how you shifted it. Right, wherever your vertex has shifted, that is your shift. Your vertex becomes 2, negative 10, that means I shifted 2 to the right and 10 down. So it kind of plugs, it all kind of falls together, right? So everything's all connected. Oh, nice. Good. Remember, so your h is that negative b over 2a, and your k is putting whatever your h is into your function, right? So it's f of h, basically. F of, you put whatever you got for h into there to get to find the y. And then I guess quick comment, right? If it's happy, then you're going to have a minimum at the vertex. If it's unhappy, then you're going to have a maximum at the vertex. Right, maybe I'll draw those in there. Right, so if I'm happy, then I'm going to have this will be a minimum. If I am unhappy, then this will be a maximum. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at our next handout.
Well, we got on the back of this.
Oh, there's more in the back?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. My bad. Ignore that. Let's see what's on the back. Increasing, decreasing. All right, increasing, decreasing, we're going to cross that out. I don't care about that. All it does is confuse people and they get really no useful information about it whatsoever. The domain and range is all real numbers. It's always all real numbers. Right? So the domain is always going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. We talked about that earlier because x is not being divided. It's not, we're not dividing by x, and we're not taking the square root of anything with x in it. And my range depends upon the vertex. If it's The vertex is either going to be the minimum or the maximum. So either go up to the minimum, up to the vertex, or it'll go down to the vertex, depending on the direction of the vertex. Yeah, this sort of summarizes it. I guess we can summarize it. Sure. We'll ignore that part here. So you'll see here's my vertex, right? I have negative b over 2a, and then whatever I throw that in there, whatever I get there, that's my h comma k. So my vertex is my h comma k. It opens upwards. X's symmetry is x equals, this is x equals h. My domain is all the numbers. My range goes from k to positive infinity. Not that exciting. Here, same idea. Again, I'm going to ignore that part here. My vertex is h comma k. My axis symmetry is x equals h. And then here my range is going to be from from negative infinity up to k. Right, my domain state is always, all the numbers. Okay. So now we will move on to the next one. But keep that page handy because that will be super helpful as we go through this one. So we're going to do 2 of these together, and then you'll have a homework on them. That'll be due, I think, a week from Friday is when we'll have this one due. Thanks. All right. We're going to do a guided example 1. We'll do this one together. Then we'll have you folks work on number 2 on your own. So here's our function. Does it open upwards or downwards? First of all, is A positive or negative? Fill that in. Is A positive? So write down, what's my A? A equals, B equals, C equals. Everybody fill that in 15 seconds. Do it right now. What does A equal? Write it in. A equals what? What does A equal? B equals what? If you're not sure about A, move on to B. B equals what? What does B equal? B equals what? C equals what? What does C equal? So just write C equals, fill that in. C equals what? Check your answers with your neighbors. Okay, so what's A? What's the number? What's the invisible number in front of x squared? 1. Whenever there isn't a number in front of x, there's an invisible 1 in front of it. Everybody on board? So my A is 1. What's my B? 2. What's my C? -2. Don't forget the negative. Great. All right, so is A positive or negative? Everybody write it in. Is A positive or negative? Write down the word. Write down either positive or negative in that space. What'd you both come up with?
Positive.
Positive, great. So does it open upwards or downwards?
Upward.
Upwards, perfect. Write in upwards. All right, determine the vertex. Everyone find the vertex.
Cool.
Take a minute, find the vertex. So find your H, right? How do you find your H? H equals negative B over 2A. You have your A, you have your B, you can find this. Okay, so I think everybody found their H. Here's the thing, once you find the H, you need to plug it back in to your original equation. Right? This equation up here to find your y. So you got to plug it into this top equation at the top to figure out what the y is, when x is whatever you got.
So this is your
Right, so your x should be -1, right? You all found your h is -1. When x is -1, what's your y? Plug it into that formula up top to find your y.
So now we'll find the y. To find the y, we need to substitute this number into this.
Check this. So first,
Sorry.
we plug our -b over 2 times a. My b is 2, my a is 1. We'll get -2 over 2, which is -1. Now, I need to plug that -1 into this function up here in purple. So I'm going to rewrite this down below to find my k, h comma k, right? My k, my y is going to be join parentheses squared plus 2 times join parentheses minus 2. What goes in there? -1. Okay, so what's -1 squared? What's -1 times -1?
1.
1, because a negative times negative is a positive. 2 times -1, -2, minus 2. So I have $1, I owe $2, I owe someone else $2, altogether I owe $3. So my vertex is going to be -1, comma, -3. That's the vertex. Okay?
Mhm.
Great. Next step. Use the formula y equals a times x plus h to write plus squared plus k. So all I'm going to do is write it in y equals, I'll leave a blank for a, times x minus blank squared plus blank. So we need to fill in these blanks. Oops. So what's my,
But the x and the minus h is the same thing, so why are they listing it twice, right?
what do you mean?
Like, isn't h x?
H is my x at the vertex. H is x at the vertex.
Oh.
So what's first of all, what's my a? What's a of the problem?
-1.
A is 1.
1.
H is what? -1. What's my k? -3. Right? Everybody on board with that part? Yes or no? Because now we're going to clean it up.
Okay.
If I were to simplify this, y equals, well, I usually put the 1 in front. If there's a 1 in front, we usually just leave that off. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? So this 1 in front,
Okay.
if it's 1 times x squared, I usually just leave off the 1 and it's just x squared. Is everyone understanding what I'm saying? Yes or no? So I'm not going to write it. I'm just going to write parentheses. X minus -1. Minus is plus, so it becomes x plus 1 squared. And then plus -3 minus 3. So all we did was kind of clean this up a little bit. If we have a 1 in front, we usually don't bother writing times 1 because that's just itself. And then x minus -1 is x plus 1 squared, and then plus -3, minus 3.
How did you get the x minus -1?
Because it's x minus h. H is -1.
Oh.
All I did was fill in what a is. So here it's like a equals 1, so that goes in there. H equals -1, so that goes in there. K equals -3, so that goes in there. That's all we did. All right, so now we're going to compare this to the graph of y equals x squared. How has it been shifted? So shifting, we're looking at the inside and the outside, right? So how has it been shifted? The inside, so on the inside,
It's left one down three?
yep. So on the inside, it's +1. Everybody agree? I want to see that. The inside is +1. So remember, the inside is the opposite. So +1 means left 1. So left 1, that's the first part. And then on the outside, we have, what do we have on the outside of the function? -3. So -3 means what?
Down 3.
Down 3. Good. Find the axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry is x equals h. So in this case, what's my h? Fill it in. X equals what? What's my h? Write h in right here. That's what I was saying. Write h in there. X equals, what's my h? Dave, what's the h? What's my h? Okay, so what's my vertex? Everyone find your vertex.
-1.
So my vertex is -1, comma,
3, -3.
-3. Is only one of you folks getting this? I need participation. Jenna, what's my vertex?
-1, -3.
David, what's my vertex?
-1,
Ryan, what's my vertex? What's the vertex?
-1, -3.
Great. So what's my h? Shania, what's my h?
-1.
Great. So we're going to write in x equals -1 here. So what everybody did? Because x is symmetry, x equals h is -1, so x equals -1. That's my axis of symmetry. Now we're going to plug in, when x is 0, my y-intercept, remember my y-intercept is 0, comma c. What's my c? Look at the very top of the page, what's my c?
-2.
-2? -2. Great. And then we're going to create a table of function of values. So we already have a couple. We already have my vertex, -1, comma, -3. We already have my y-intercept, 0, comma, what'd you say, -2? You want to pick a couple more. My vertex is -1. So what should I pick for x's? What do you want to pick for x's?
1.
Yeah, so things right around -1. So what's right around -1? If I go backwards, what do I get? -2 and -3. So I want to pick those ones. -2, -3. And if I go forward, what do I get from -1? -1 forward is 0, and forward one more is 1. So I want to pick, I already have 0 already, so I'll go with 1 as well. So those are the ones that you want to do. So if I plug these in, let's see, we'll do this blank squared plus 2 times blank minus 2. All of them are going to be like that. What goes inside? Your x. Toss your x in. -2, -3, 1. -2 here, -3, 1. Find what you get. So what do we get for the first one? -2 squared is 4. So I'm just going to write them above. This is 4. This is -4. -2. So 4 minus 2 is -2. So this becomes -2, comma, -2. This one is negative 3 squared is 9. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And minus 2. So 9 minus 6 minus 2 is 1. So this becomes negative 3, comma 1. And the last one, 1 squared is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Minus 2 is 1. Plus 2 minus 2 is 1. So the last one is 1, comma 1. So those are my 5 points.
So 1, 1?
1, 1?
1.
Yep.
1,
So then we're going to graph these on the next page. And you know what, we'll finish the rest of this up next class. I think that's good. But the next one, you'll graph them, and then there's a couple things to comment about.